I want to welcome you first off at your last class, and that is for CBCS 504. And this is Chaplaincy Level 2, and this is your 4th week. It means it's your final week of instruction. And what is amazing about this is that time has gone so fast. I mean, I can remember when we just started off with this training. Now you're already on your 9th month. You know, what happens after 9 months of pregnancy? You give birth. Come on. Remember now, we are also, we're not just pastors, we're also chaplains. We are, you know what happens where pastors go? Pastors go to heaven, chaplains go anywhere. So yes, we're gonna real quick share my screen with everybody so that you can also be in the same picture side of my screen over there. Oh, look at that. So if you have done level 2, you would probably in CSC, you would probably see a lot of things that also was part of our training, you know, back in the day when we did community services Chaplaincy 2. Now, when you do take a look at your manual in this regard, you would see that, you know, more or less the same things will be taught in this training session today. So if you will, you can just turn a page there. I do not exactly know which page we're on at this moment, but the purpose of this chapter is not designed to teach the police chaplain to fire a weapon. Remember now, this is not to teach you how to fire a weapon, and we do not train people to fire weapons, but rather to know how to appropriately handle a weapon and to become, you know, rudimentarily familiar with an assortment of weapons that the chaplain can expect to see in the field of service. Now, normally we would do this in a physical training, you know, when we have the students right there in front of us. But with this one, at least we've got a video to show you how to handle and familiarize yourself with a weapon. Remember now, it's not to teach you how to shoot and how to aim or whatever the case may be. It's just to help you to find, you know, a safe place for the weapon on the scene, because sometimes you'll accompany the cop to a domestic violence case. You'll accompany the cop to a death notification, misdemeanor stop like last week, or a felony stop, remember? And when you see a weapon, you should know probably what you need to do. Now, this is a video insert from the campus in Hudson, Florida, from our professor. He will take further instruction on this video for the following 8 minutes or so. Now let's watch this real quick.
Welcome to 3C Chaplaincy Training. We have a small video segment here that we want to do on weapons handling and familiarization. The whole purpose of this segment is for safety reasons. And so we're not going to teach you how to use a weapon or how to fire a weapon, but we're going to teach you how to appropriately handle a weapon and become rudimentally familiar with some of the assortments of the weapons that you may find in police chaplaincy or law enforcement chaplaincy. I have with me here Tim, who is from our church, and he is involved in law enforcement, and he's brought some of his weapons here today. And I'm just going to pitch it to him, and I'm going to let him show you. Now, once again, we're not showing you how to use these weapons, but we're showing you what to be familiar with. So he's going to show you about when they're on safety, when they're not, whether they need to be racked, and whether they don't need to be. And he's going to share with you the different kinds of weapons that we have. Tim, thank you so much for helping us with this.
Thank you for having me, Pastor. Hello, everybody. First and foremost is keep your finger off of the trigger, because that's the #1 safety with holding any weapon or anything like that. Our first weapon we're going to utilize is a revolver, and I already have all the guns open in safe mode because that's just what I do. It's very elementary, very basic. When it's closed and locked, if you need to open the revolver, there's normally a button on the side, and as you notice, I'm not pointing towards anybody or at anybody. Never do that. You push the button and you push, and you can open the revolver, therefore to check the revolver to see if there's any ammo or anything in it, and if there is, you can push the button and all the ammo will fall out. Like I said, finger always off the trigger. Never handle anything with your finger on the trigger. Here's a Glock 35. It is a .40 cal. A lot of law enforcement use these or 9mm. In order to clear this one, there's no way to know it other than to pull back on the slide. And you notice how my finger is, it's not on the trigger. So all you got to do is point towards the ground and away and pull the slide back and nothing in it. If there is a mag in it, you're going to want to drop that first, which I actually brought a mag today. So if there is a mag in it, it's closed at the bottom. It's not open. There'll be a button on either side. If you're left-handed or right-handed, you can push that button and eject the mag. Then you would clear the weapon this way. And in order, if you do that, there's a slide lock as well. You can slide lock it and leave the weapon open so anybody knows that
Very
it is
important.
cleared and been checked.
Just leave it open.
My rule of thumb is even if you clear a weapon in front of me, I still take the weapon and do my checks and clear it myself. Another one is the good old faithful shotgun. The only other way to unload this one is to push the button here by the trigger or up top, depending on the model, and rack it open. If it is loaded, a shell will kick out. Leave it open because if the mag is loaded, that way you don't chamber another round. There's also a safety on this one. The first two I showed you has no safety. That's why I said keep your finger off the trigger. This one's up to fire, back to lock. If you see a red dot on most weapons, it's ready to fire, and that's not a good thing. So you'll want to move the switch or the lever to where you can't see the red switch. Therefore, you know it's in a safe action. Now, in law enforcement, we use these as well. We call them red guns. They'll be painted orange or red, and they're for less lethal, and they shoot beanbag shells, not live shells as far as to kill anybody or have to do anything to put anybody down. So we use that for dual purposes. This is an AR-15, and this is pretty typical of what law enforcement use. The stock slides back. They got lights on them and everything else. Depending on the situation, they will break these out and have to utilize these. Same way with the Glock. This is what it looks like with a mag in it. So this one is ambidextrous, so it works both ways. There's a button here that you push and to eject the mag. And I already got the slide lock open on this. So that's what it would look like if the slide was closed. Take your fingers over here, slide it back. This one has a bolt lock. Then you push it up on this one and it locks the bolt open. And I got safety switch on both sides of this weapon. Like I said, it works left-handed and right-handed. And that's pretty much the basics for law enforcement safety. Number one, I'll never point it towards anybody unless you can. Keep your finger off the trigger.
Okay, and so we want to talk just a little bit about the safety again. Safety switch on, safety switch off. Can you go through each one real quick and just show them how to make sure that the safety is on or to identify if it's off?
On a revolver, there is no safety.
No safety.
So
Good to know.
no safety on this revolver.
Take the bullets out.
That's why you got to push the button and open the revolver. That way the mag's open. You can check. My Glock has no safety either. Finger off the trigger. Now on a Glock, and all Glocks are this way, see how the trigger is up? If the trigger is like that all the way to the back, it is not chambered and it's not ready to go. You cannot do nothing with it. So, but there's no safety other than your finger on this one as well.
That's good to know.
And the shotgun, this particular shotgun's a Mossberg 500. The safety switch is on top. Up is ready to fire. Back is safe action. The AR, most of them are just on one side. There's a switch right here that you can do. I had to drop the bolt to do that, but there's a switch and it says fire and safe on it. Just make sure it is in the safe mode And even if you don't want to do anything other than that and just leave it, you can do that.
Okay. Now, the next question I have for you is in various types of situations, if you were going to a domestic in a home, which weapons would most generally be utilized if one ever had to be utilized?
They're sidearm.
The sidearms, okay? And the difference between single action, double action, safe action Glock, and things like that, okay?
Yes.
So then the shotgun?
Barricaded subject, multiple people, you know, you got a riot or something going on, they'll break out the shotgun for that, just because it holds 8 in the mag and 1 in the chamber, so 9 total.
Okay, and AR-15?
That is for your active shooters, riots, big time stuff. They hold 30 rounds. And of course, you know, unfortunately, they need that in order to keep up with everybody else.
Right. So the main thing that we were wanting to show you is simply this. Number one, or make you aware of, number one, we're not showing you how to use these weapons. We're not trying to train you how to use them. We just want you to be familiar with these weapons, so when you go out, when you're riding with your law enforcement officer, then you will be familiar with the kind of weapons that they will be utilizing and using, or just have on them. Also, if you're in a domestic situation or any other type of situation and you're looking around, if you see a weapon laying around somewhere, then if it doesn't look like one of these weapons, chances are it's not a law enforcement weapon. And so you need to keep your eyes on weapons, keep your eyes on the subject's hands at all times. Keep your eyes on their hands at all times. So this is just a little video that we're doing just for safety purposes. Once again, this is not a training on how to use these. And so don't go away thinking that. In fact, you know, we accept absolutely no responsibility if you decide that you want to take this and try to utilize it as a training. It's weapons familiarization. And so we wanted to make you familiar with the weapons that you would use. Tim, thank you so much for helping us today.
You're welcome, Pastor.
Well, I'm not going to show you that one, but that's what you have seen, is that how to, you know, bring a gun to safety. And because many times you would come to a scene, if you are a law enforcement chaplain, of course, domestic violence chaplain, or even in grief, sometimes people will carry a weapon and will just put it on the counter. You will be able to look at it, identify the gun, tell the cop about the gun, or if the cop is not around, make the gun safe. So these are the basic safety rules. You should be able to determine if the weapon is charged or empty, if there's a bullet inside. So you'll need to take a look at that. So additionally, they will need to know if this determination can be made visibly, or if the weapon must be breached or open to see if it's charged or not. Please do not look down the barrel of your gun. And when it's a revolver, and you will want to find out to see if you've got some bullets, because most revolvers will have 6 bullets, but you can see on the sides if they are loaded. Don't look to the front of the gun to see if there's bullets. Just look at the back. If you cannot see the bullets, press the chamber out so that it can show you the bullets. They should become familiar with the safety switch and learn when safety is on or safety is off. And you would probably know by now, when you see the red button, when you see the red dot on the safety mechanism, it means dangerous. It's like when you'll remember this, when you drive to a traffic light or a robot, and you find yourself at a red light, it means dangerous, because cars will be coming from this end. So that's why that dot is red and not green. Okay. Then the next segment of this, it's a good idea if you are involved in law enforcement chaplaincy, especially, and when kids is involved, like in Shani's case, it's a good idea that you are know a little bit more about law enforcement chaplaincy, and of course the types of firearms you get out there, because you have many types. I mean, there's basic differences between autoloaders. I will show you in a bit, but there's a single action, the double action, and the safe action Glock firearm pistol. Now, you also have to understand that you need to protect the weapons at the scene. That's the only reason why we show you this, and especially the perpetrator's firearm. You need to take it, away. If it's on the ground, you do not take it from them unless the cop takes it from them and hand it to you. Then, of course, you'll put it in a safe direction, not towards the cop, and is in the perp, on a safe direction, and you'll just not empty the gun. Don't do that. That's gonna give the cop a real stress out, because he doesn't want to hear gunshots behind him. You just open the firearm, take out all of the bullets, and it's easy with a pistol to take out all of the bullets also. And even with a revolver, single action revolver right here, it's got a single action to the back, releasing to the front, and then you've got the single action autoloader pistol that autoloads. So yes, in this, all of these, you don't need to know this, but I mean, this is the muzzle, the front sight, the rear sight. You land these, you prop on your target, and you've got the hammer. If the hammer is back, obviously maybe there'll be one in the chamber right over here. So if the hammer is back and the trigger is ready to fire, you'll have to put on the safety. You'll have to put on the safety immediately, and unload the magazine from here, and you'll just press that button over there. You see this button over there, magazine release button, and then you'll open the slide, the rear, the slide of the gun, and this is the slide lock, of course, right over there. If you didn't see the video, they're real good. You'll just press it up or down depending on the firearm you're using, and you'll slide the whole top slide off the gun if you want to do that, to be sure it's not gonna hurt somebody. Then you have the double action. Most double action autoloaders are actually merely double action for the first shot and single shot after that. So it's just double action in the first shot, and then of course single shots after that. Now this video was taken. Now he had the double shot at first, and then now he's using a revolver. So in any case, this was taken from the movie A Fistful of Dollars. Excellent movie if you want to watch that. Clint Eastwood one. So again, shotguns. Now the Remington 870 has found its way into the law enforcement community as a workplace shotgun. So you'll need to know and understand what to do on a scene with a shotgun, because most of the times a shotgun would be in the area where the cops at. Many years back, I had what happened was I had a ride along with a FBI chaplain. We stopped at the Target shop. It's like a big Walmart, but it's Target, and it's like big parking lots. And for some reason, his boot went open, and he had a shotgun right there in his boot, mounted on the boot. So we were in the shops maybe for an hour or so. We returned to the vehicle. We see, my goodness, his boot is open, and his shotgun was still there. Did you believe that? His shotgun was still there. That's amazing, money. Laughing because I thought to myself, oh my goodness, if that was, another city, maybe somewhere, it would have been gone. It would have been taken out of that vehicle, even broken in. Now, I mean, the boot was just standing up like that. It was a sedan. Now, we have to understand we need to protect the weapon at the crime scene. It is very important for the chaplain to understand that no weapon should go missing from the scene, because that weapon may have been used on the scene, and it may have been left there. So you need to make sure that it's kept safe. Now, this protection is not just for the sake of the weapon getting into the hands of the wrong person. It is for the protection of the police officer also, because somebody might just pass by and then pick up the gun and shot towards the cop, or it may be a kid and trying to figure out what is this gun about. Now, then also, if a perpetrator is shot and a member of the general public picks up the police officer's weapon and it gets lost in the crowd, it will have the officer without the necessary evidence to justify his use of deadly force. So yes, that's why keep your eyes on the hands of people. And if you're there you know, with your chaplain's badge and all of that, and you try to protect the cop and help the cop in getting the crowds of him. I mean, that's if there's you know, you do not want to find yourself in a riot situation, of course, because on a riot situation there will be a lot of cops right there. This is just, you know, maybe a misdemeanor stop or a felony stop, for example. Misdemeanor stop going bad, felony stop, and you find yourself with the cop or with a domestic violence case or so on. Now the chaplain should keep their eyes on the weapon always. So if you see the weapon over there, just take a seat and watch it. Do not allow anybody to get close to that weapon, because that's a danger for you as well as for the cop on duty. Now the chaplain and the victim witness program, the VWP. Now, the victim witness coordinator is often a police officer at the station or officer of the court who is assigned the responsibility of working with the victims or witness of crime. So you should be familiar about those people living in your cities, because there will be a victim witness program in each station. So you'll just have to find the correct person to speak to if you want to get involved in that program. Because you cannot tell a victim, listen, there is a program that will help you and assist you. If there's none, you'll have to make friends and reach out to the department where you're where you'll be doing your chaplaincy service to find out if he was involved with the coordination of this program, and if you could maybe you know, get their details or so on. Now the chaplain should familiarize themselves with this office, please. Now the chaplain will also learn that they can be of greater service to this coordinator in this department, because they can help you and you can help them in the same way. Many resources like state or federal governmental agencies, these are all to our disposal when we find the correct person working with the victim witness program. Then also state and federal benefits. The chaplain can learn from the victim witness coordinator the benefits, both state and federal, which are offered to survivors of law officers who have been feloniously slain on duty. Often the chaplain and the victim witness coordinator are the only faces and voices of compassion that some victims ever see and hear in their lives. Now, what about field trips? I mean, many people like field trips. I love field trips. I mean, it's nice always to do a field trip with a cop. Also training. I mean, there's many training opportunities for chaplains alongside the cop, working with the cops. You can maybe go for firearm training. You can go for defensive drive courses when you apply your services to the law enforcement agencies. I haven't seen a lot of security company chaplains though in my life. We've got so many security companies in South Africa. I mean, it's a good idea to also reach out to these kind of people, because they'll also need a chaplain once and again, just to help them and to cope with the stressors they are facing each and every night on their job. Most agencies are very concerned about insurances, liabilities, and accreditation for the sake of chaplains. Of course, when you're doing a field trip with either a full-time chaplain or obviously a law enforcement individual. By implementing these classes, the agency will protect itself to a greater degree. So this all helps them to be sure that you have insurance on your life, because you will probably sign a waiver when you get on the vehicle with the cop. Back when I did all of those ride-alongs, I never had to do that, because automatically the chaplain would be covered under insurance and liabilities, because we were accredited as chaplains. Then what about DDCs, or like this national in CSC, like national safety course in driving? Now you could watch videos and you can train yourself also, not on the streets, please, but you could allow for some training opportunities to come your way. They've got a great school in Pretoria who does this training classes, and you can also ask being the BMW and all of those companies, maybe they could help if you want to do a course like that. It will cost you, by the way, A driving course like that for one day would probably cost you around about between 5 to 7, 8,000 rands. That's what a defensive driving course will cost you just for one day. So it's a lot of money, but at least you do not use your own vehicle on that you know on that roads. So yes, then also a classroom and a test will be done. This training will be both beneficial to the chaplain and also protect the city from some forms of liability in event of an accident. Because if you are involved in an accident, the courts will ask that you do the defensive driving course when you took the cop's car after he was wounded in a shooting, or when you took the cop's car because he asked you to take the child to the hospital whilst he's bringing under arrest the family, or whatever the case may be. So they will ask you that you do some training in that regard. So what kind of experience in driving do you have? If you tell them, listen, not too much, and you've caused an accident, you'll be in real big trouble. So rather not take the keys then. So in ride-alongs, it is recommended that the ride-alongs be done in no less than 2 rides of 4 hours. Ideally, it should be 2 rides of 8 hours. That's what you want, but nobody wants a chaplain for so long in his vehicle. You know what I mean? They would rather prefer you breaking it up in 2 segments of 4 hours, because sometimes some of the cops who would want to spend some time sitting alone, wondering about the next day. If you are talking too much, maybe he'll just cut you off. The purpose behind the ride-alongs is to familiarize the chaplain with the areas of his community in which the patrol officers serve. Now, this is important because they will show you places where you've never been at. You can even ask the police, if the regular police, the metro police, security departments, even defense, they would allow some ride-alongs if you could just sign a waiver that they're not responsible for accidents and stuff like that. That's why you'll have to sort out your own insurance probably. That's also important, that the insurance company would know that you do such ride-alongs. Now, the rides also serve to familiarize the officer with the chaplain within the department, because many times some people, they don't even know about the chaplain's existence. Sometime back, where was I? Oh yes, I was living in the States for a year, and I returned in 2017 to Rustenburg, remember? Actually late to 2016. And after being away for 1 year, people didn't realize I was gone. Can't believe that. So when I came back, they said, we haven't seen you in a uniform for a very long time. I said, my goodness, I've resigned already in 2016 in January. I mean, come on. So of course, ride-alongs is important because that helps you, to stay in touch with the officers. It helps you to familiarize yourself as well as the officer with you. There's some personal qualities you'll have to desire in your own life if you want to do good ride-alongs. Remember now, you do not have to do a ride-along just with cops. It can be with the fire officer. It could be with the chief traffic officer in your city, or the metro police cop. It can be with any kind of, ESP. Remember what we said, initial classes. ESP stands for emergency services personnel. It can be any person like that. Now, some of the qualities, I think I've got about 10 here, but the first one is humility, modesty, integrity, respect, sympathy, curiosity about people. So these are the traits of the game. You cannot just be full of yourself and think that you're going to be a good chaplain, because these are the qualities you'll have to desire in your own ministry doing chaplaincy service, especially in the field of the ESPs. Then also sincere appreciation of people, because you'll have to appreciate people out there. They would know if you do not appreciate them. They would know, and they will catch on just like that if you're just there for the pat on the back by the boss to say, well, you did well, Moni. Yeah, next time better, something like that. They need to understand that you're there for them. You're not there to, get a tick off your ministry practicum list, which I gave you. It's good if you have done that. It will be, you can give yourself double points on that if you have done this, but it's not about that. It's about the people. It's about appreciating what they're doing. And also thirdly, satisfaction in being with listening to, and in trying to understand people and society. This is what it's about. Our ministry is about, it becomes a satisfying ministry when we come to a place where we understand we have to listen to people more than we speak to people, especially in chaplaincy service, because sometimes you do not have to say a word, but still you are preaching to them in the scope of ministry of presence. Because remember now, chaplaincy is all about ministry of presence. It's not about, book knowledge. It's not about walking with the Bible under your arm and preaching hell, fire and brimstone all over you, all over the way. It's about sharing the love and compassion of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Even Jesus, when he was walking on the earth, he didn't just preach about hell and Hades and all of that like many preachers do these days. Every service they would preach about hell. People would probably get tired of hearing of hell. They need to know that Jesus loves them. And they need to know they have to love like Jesus loved. And this is where, where we as chaplains understand that we'll have to go out there with this satisfaction that the same love Jesus gave to us, we have to love people with. We have to also be, we have to be able to take a passive role on the backseat, for example. Not the backseat driver, by the way. Many of us, we are backseat drivers. We do not be backseat drivers on a cop's car, because he'll take you to the station in a heartbeat. You'll just be having a passive role, and you just hold on and look up here and there to see if you're still alive. And then also ability to make a good first impression. As a chaplain, you'll have to make a good impression. I mean, yes, a cup of coffee, maybe a donut or two, or maybe a nice pepper steak pie at the Total Garage in your break. All of that things will help you to make a good first impression with the cop. But most importantly, I think, in my personal point of view, if you're interested in the person there, in that vehicle, and in their children and their spouses, that's a good first impression. And even though if you would find out beforehand, maybe this cop has got 2 children at home, and it's a boy and a girl, you take them some sweets or something, that first impression will just, it will just let him shine and love you more. Then the 6th one is ability to accept people with differences. And I mean, I guess this is sometimes the reason why many churches are empty, because we couldn't in the past accept that there's different kinds of people in the world. We wanted everybody to be like the pastor. We wanted everybody to be like this kind of disciple, or, we want them to be either like Peter or John. We do not want them to be like Judas. You know what I mean? But the reason why there was 12 disciples, and all of them had different kind of, personalities. That's the awesome thing, is that Jesus accepted them just the way they were. He didn't leave them like the way he founded them, because his love just changed them. I mean, they made of Peter, for example, who was a zealot. He was a zealot. He made him, like the rock on which the church would stand on. And then number 7, ability to endure being misunderstood, because sometimes the cop would have misunderstood you. Remember now, the type of language you use is not the same as the cop's language, because he'll use vulgar, bad language, ill language. But you, as a chaplain and being a Christian also, you'd watch your mouth, and you would want to speak not ill about this in front of this man. But sometimes you will misunderstand your concepts, and he will misunderstand. Why would you not allow me to arrest? Chaplain, what do you think? No, I think you didn't do it rightly, or you did it wrong, whatever the case may be. But in due course, we'll find out sometimes misunderstandings can happen, and you'll have to back down, because remember now, you're taking a passive role. You're taking a passive role, not an active role of doing law enforcement, but you're there for the cop's sake. So he is like the king of the car. He's the king, and he's the ride along. And then number 8, ability to give support to respondents, even though they say malicious, prejudiced, and false statements. Yes, of course, you'll have to give support to these people also. And even if you do not agree, the love of Jesus will take care of the rest. I mean, we do not have to. Even Jesus says you have to love your enemies. Come on. Then also we have to, what about your sense of humor? Can you tell jokes? Yes, you can. You can tell jokes and you can make fun, but not too much fun, because sometimes, you know, the cops, you know, they tend to push it a little bit further. They go a little bit further with the jokes, and even worse jokes, and then they'll see how far they can push you as a chaplain, which kind of jokes you would endure. So yes, you could maybe, you know, set limits by telling a good kind of joke, you know, with no foul language, of course. And then empathy while maintaining emotional stability. It's difficult to do that. The other day I had a class, and I think I told you last week, I had to train chaplains in Seattle, Washington. There were about 35 in the class in level 1 and 2 back, you know, these classes. And I just had to mention my dogs, because we left our dogs with some kind people in South Africa. And all of a sudden I started to cry, you know. And this is the thing about empathy. And immediately some of these chaplains, which I was training, immediately they had empathy, you know. And all of a sudden I could just sense the Spirit of God, you know, coming my way because of their empathy, you know, aligning with what God wants me to understand about all of this. But they still maintained emotional stability. It's difficult sometimes to maintain emotional stability, especially when the things that just happened to the victim also happened to you when you were growing up. For example, if you go into a domestic violence situation, you pick up a kid and you think to yourself, oh my goodness, it could have been my kid. You get personally involved. Oh, there's a couple of more of these. I'm sorry, forgot about these. Then also ability to keep personal projections at a minimum and yet retain your own insight. Yes, and they will ask you if they want your opinion. Yes, I guess opinions is important, but remember now, if you take a back seat in the patrol car, or back seat in this whole ride along, whatever the case may be, your projections is important, and they will ask you for that if they want that. But you shouldn't push your own theology on them. Remember, when we do death notification, for example, is not a time to retool, you know, the victim's parents. It's not a time to retool their theology. And in the same manner, it's not a time to retool a cop's perceptions, even his projections about anything, or to put your insights in him so that he will think like you. There's a reason why we're different, and that makes the world such a beautiful place. Imagine how boring it would have been if we are all the same. Come on. Openly friendly, avoiding resentment in the interview. Yes, we need to be friendly. Smile a while and give your face a rest. And then number 13, ability to tolerate love or hostility, because sometimes you'll have the opposite of love completely. You'll enter places with a cop, but you'll have to, you know, be able to tolerate that people will be hostile towards you as a chaplain or even a pastor. Even as a scholar, you would think to yourself, my goodness, I've got this bachelor's degree, you've got nothing, you didn't even finish school. But we need to understand, we have to tolerate these people when they treat us with hostility. Even Jesus was threatened all the time. He was treated with hostilities all over. Many times he had to walk away. And sometimes, chaplain, you could also walk away like Jesus did. And then also ability to take rebuffs. I mean, not all of the things that happens in the world out there, you know, sometimes we are wrong. Sometimes we have to just suck it up and move on. So don't be afraid to take a rebuff. Do not be afraid to take, you know, showing your other side of your face and let them slap there also. And also ability to accept not being accepted. That's real difficult to do, because you as a chaplain, as a caregiver, you would like people to accept you, who you are, and you want them to accept the way you are. But sometimes people will not accept you. You need to understand, you have to have that inner ability and strength to, you know, to buffer that, to kind of neutralize that rejection. Some people do not take rejection well. Come on. Some people do not take rejection well, especially when you have to teach people, for example, from the pulpit or whatever the case may be. You feel a little bit awkward. You feel, oh my goodness, this is going to kill me. But it's not. You get stronger in that way. And also number 16, gaining satisfaction outside the job for a whole personality. I mean, you'll have to make ways, and maybe the cop would be you know, your first victim or your first person you can encourage to find satisfaction outside the job. Because if the job is the only place where they can find satisfaction and growth, then they will live for their jobs. We shouldn't live for our jobs, because our jobs takes about 30 years of our lives. And what about the rest of the lives before our job and after our job? We'll have to live our lives in completeness. And then no feeling or need to use people to show power. No feeling. No, not at all. You do not have to feel this, you know, importance of, I've got so many people under me, and you cannot use people to show off your power. And the same with the cop. He won't use that unless, of course, he's forced to do that. You shouldn't be aggressive, chaplain. Pastor, you shouldn't be aggressive. I mean, this is a trait you have to exercise even in your own private lives. I mean, to de-escalate aggression. To de-escalate aggression only means you're taking a step backwards. When there's a fight, when there's conflict, you take a step backwards. And the reason why you take a step backwards is so that they will miss the punch, of course, yes, but also sometimes to rethink things if you really want to get involved in what's happening right in front of you. Then number 19, respect for subculture values and taboos. And you know all about that. There's so many cultures out there, and we'll have to have respect for all other cultures other than ourselves. And of course, some areas that is taboo, you'll have to respect the fact that some people do not want to speak to you about certain things. Don't mind that. I mean, don't press and hard press them that you are here now. They should speak about that. Some areas people do not want to go to. And then you have to have a non-judgmental kind of attitude. It's not, you know, like when we are in church, you feel the pastor is you know, judgmental over you because he's preaching for you. Not like that. It's not something like that. We have to have a non-judgmental attitude towards the cop. We're talking about your ethical conduct and your personal qualities inside of the cop's car, the fire engine, or wherever you will do a ride-along. Ride-alongs with fire people is also interesting because you see a lot of things. You see accidents, you see people where you can pray at the scene and so on. It means a lot to people. Then high sense of ethics, and then we'll come to a close. High sense of ethics, a professional attitude giving an impression of confidentiality, security of records, non-gossip, and so on. So yes, of course, you'll have to have a high sense of that people would understand that you are trustworthy. You are a person of trust. They can rely upon you because you won't tell the story over. So I would obviously, if this is the first time you would have a ride along with a cop, and it's the first time he may see you even, you know, and you'll let him know that, listen, everything that will be said here on this patrol car is confidential unless your life, my life, or somebody else's lives are in danger, of course. So yes, I'll be sending your exams shortly after this class. I'll send you a link on your emails. You will see that I haven't sent you a WhatsApp today for your test links, and that's why I think Brother Israel isn't in the class also again, because of the WhatsApp little things. My WhatsApps was a little bit delayed because of the change of phones and numbers and all of that. I lost a lot of my WhatsApps. So yes, that was that. Any questions? How do you like my cup, guys?
Nice.
Baie mooi.
Nice, eh? It's not Woolworths.
Just a reminder for Shani, video links of the other classes for Shani.
Oh, you want some video links?
Ja, van laasweek asseblief, from last week.
Sure, I can do that for you.
Thank you. And about tonight's class, nowhere you said this is important for the test, etc. Is there anything? Okay.
No, it's not really. You would see that it's going to be a real easy test. And if you flunk it, I will just give you another opportunity. No, you won't miss it, yeah. It's like some of the things is really redundant. It's like we've done it and done it again. So you won't get questions about, you know, shootings. You'll only get a question like you have to, you know, be sure that the gun is kept safe in a safe place. hide it under a piece of, branch or something there in the field, if you're in the field, because normally when a gun is lying around, it won't be always in a car or something like that. It will be on the open ground where people just throw it away and made a run from the car, because they need to attach these two to one another, the cop and the perp and the gun. If there's no gun, there's no case, you understand? So if the gun gets missing, there's no case against this guy who just killed a friendly, So the gun is always important, especially for building up a case and for the safety of the cop. That's the only thing we have to know about that. Oh, okay. So if there's no questions, I'll see you next week.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank
Meeting
you,
this week,
Pastor.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Okay, good night, Pastor Mornay and the students.
Good night, you guys. Money, you want to say something? Oh, he's out. All right. Have a good night.